Okay, well, I just see that DJ is coming back. So can I suggest perhaps if we do a quick roundtable of introductions for everyone's benefit, and maybe could I ask people online to start introducing themselves for the presentation? Would it be okay? Mariadina, do you want to say hello?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can. Nice to hear you.
Have a nice day, nice session. I'm Mariadina. I'm assisting the policy team, and I'm watching all the sessions remotely from Greece. Enjoy the sessions and good luck to everybody.
Thank you, Mariadina. Do we have other people online? Or is that it? Okay, big side story just said yes. Okay, well, in the meantime, should we do the roundtable as well? So my name is Marcel Tassini. I'm one of the industry officers of Europlanet, and I also work in a small company called Blue Sky Space, and we've been trying to take a commercial approach to delivering more satellites. Nigel mentioned this earlier, and we've been involved in Europlanet for now 4 or 5 years, even before the last or this latest version of the RI. And the idea has been to try to figure out how can we best interact with industry when it comes to planetary science. It always felt like somewhat of a challenge because it's not obvious what the commercial return is for society at large or enterprises at large. But when it comes to a few specific targeted areas, we know that there is obvious benefits. And if you think about hardware, obviously that's straightforward. If you're thinking about Airbus, Thales, OHB, and so on, there's an obvious case where they work with it, but the reality is they already do that through these through the big space missions. So that's an obvious one. Then there are a few examples like what we are doing or what we'll speak in a second do. That's another approach. But then there is a wider question, and was the challenge that Nigel gave at the very beginning, which is how can we bring the value of Europlanet to a wider, undefined ecosystem of companies, and who do we put into that category of companies? Is it just hardware? Is it software? Is it companies that are already in space, or is it even companies which have not been in space but might be tempted to join the space ecosystem through participation through Europlanet? And then there's a secondary problem, or a secondary complexity that we've seen, which is how do we try to work with industry also for the benefits of the financial health of the European society, and how do we add that into the sustainability component? And my personal view on this has always been that first we need to build up genuine relationships with industry which are sustained. And then in the second step, try to see how we can work with this in a sustainable way for the benefit of Europlanet. But maybe that needs to be switched around a bit more because of financial pressures and priorities for society. So I'll stop there and I'll pass over to Pedro.
Hi, so my name is Jerónimo Bernarcelles, and I'm the project manager of ACRIST, which is an SME of the space sector. So we basically provide engineering services on all aspects of data from satellites. Company have a long history working with Earth observations data, mostly with the Copernicus program. And since like 5 years ago, we started developing also our business towards astrophysics and planetary science, in the sense that there is a lot of basically know-how that can be applied to both areas, both Earth observations and planetary science. So we try to also go in that direction. So that's why we got also into Europlanet. So I think it's also important, it was mentioned this morning that not people, academics, when they think of companies, they think really of hardware, satellites, instruments, things like that. But there is a for instance. So anyway, so you know what we're trying to do is, as he said in the morning, we kind of can reach to companies. It's not that specific, but we can do it. But we find it more difficult to try to convince academics to. Switch to this microphone. It's basically shall I continue? Yeah, okay. All right, great. in a way, not how to convince academics, but maybe how we can make it so that they see that working with industry is a benefit for everyone. And as we saw also from that morning, in the morning, that's not very clear sometimes. And I think that we have had basically a hard time trying to figure that out. That said, there is also another part that they want to work with industry, but maybe they do not know how or what projects they can do and things like that. So this is maybe also part of our job, is to see how we can facilitate that interaction, right? We should try to remove these roadblocks, and I'll leave it at that. If I were to
with Marcel at Discuss Space, the Europlanet industry team activities and events.
Hi, I'm Shamaila Mansour. I'm a postdoc researcher here. I'm just here to know more about it.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jakub Krchnak. I work at the Institute of Electrical Engineering at the University of Slovak University of Technology in Bratislava. I'm also in internship in Microwave Technology Center, which is focused on electromagnetic field measurements and radio frequency design.
Hi, everyone. My name is Luca Montabone. So I have two hats. One hat is I'm a scientist. I feel like being a scientist. At the same time, I have a hat of entrepreneur. So I created a small company called Pan-Eureka, based in Southeast France. And it's a company providing services in terms of, data, satellite data analysis to different customers like ESA, CNES, and others. So I really think that we had a comment before. We are scientists. We are not companies, or we are companies. We are not scientists. You can be both, and this should be taken into account. I think maybe not for companies doing big hardware, but certainly for companies doing services. So I would like to push towards this idea.
Hi, I'm Didier Moreau. I'm the treasurer of the Europlanet Society, but also industry officer in the Benelux Hub. I have a background of scientist, and I'm working at the spaceport in Brussels, where the association will be placed. I was the last one to present myself.
Okay, thanks. I mean, so this session was not very well defined in the program of what the purpose of this session is, but I think we have a microphone here. Yeah, we have a different one. So the purpose of this session really is for us to have a chance to do a bit of a brainstorm. I don't know if anyone wants to open with some reflections and comments on the basis of this morning's conversation. As I was mentioning while you were when you left the room a little bit, tomorrow we've got sort of a more structured, formal approach where we've got external parties joining us in the form of companies coming from different sectors or different aspects of space, and from different countries nearby and locally. So probably tomorrow is not a session in which we discuss our challenges and our difficulties, but today is a great opportunity, and thanks to Didier for organizing this session this morning, which I thought was very helpful, very interesting. It was good to have quite a good participation from the audience and have a lot of different problems or challenges raised, showing the complexity of the task that we have at hand. And so to me, what would be interesting is between today and the end of the week is reflect, take into account different points of input on what are the ways that we can improve as a consortium of interested scientists and industries, whether it is under Europlanet 2024 RI, whether it is the new ASBL in Belgium, whether it is any future implementation of this within the space science RI that Nigel has put forward. To me, it doesn't matter. The point is still, how can we make sure that industry and academia collaborate a bit more? I was delighted that, I don't remember the name of the lady who pointed it out, that this is happening also in different areas of science as well. It's a well-known problem. And, while maybe some other sectors, like for instance, if you go to pharmaceuticals, I think the collaboration between industry and science is very easy, very logical. Planetary science, not easy. What can we do to make things a little bit better? I don't know if anyone has additional comments or any further thoughts based on this one.
Just to say that, I mean, to what you just said at the end, that, yeah, it's not very indeed common to, in this field, right, in planetary science, to work with industry, and it's very common indeed in many others, biology, etc. But I actually, yeah, this is maybe, I don't know how we pass the message, because as we say, it's not just hardware, there is also a lot of software stuff involved that, you know, when we say, I think people think, oh, I'm doing planetary science, this is for science, there is no application, right? They don't think of application. However, they may be using some nice code tools, whatever, that could have applications for Earth observations, I don't know what. Maybe they don't see that, or they are not interested in that, right? But even if it is planetary science, where maybe the overlap might be less obvious with industry than in other areas, it is still there. It is there. So how do we pass these messages?
And then the last bit, which is of course the career components, where I think you've made a point over and over again, which is that most people enter into academia will not carry on forever in academia. At some point, they will branch out. They will go into industry. At some point, they might go into industry and come back to academia. Those kinds of collaborations do happen, and that's a reality. But if you talk to scientists, very often the message you receive is like, "Oh no, industry is bad. You know, they want profits, they want IP, they want whatever," and so they don't want to work with industry. I mean, we've heard that over and over again. Maybe from a minority, but they're a vocal minority. But that's certainly something that we see a lot, and people make comparison with the United States. I think in the United States, scientists are more comfortable with the idea of working with companies because the US fundamentally is more comfortable with the idea of profit in the first place. And so as a consequence, it means that maybe it's a bit more aligned.
One key aspect perhaps is to, is that I think we need to make academics also understand that if they work with industry, also in a way this can come with funding, right? Because frankly, many industry they don't think it does also research innovation. They also do research. It's not just products and services. There is also research involved, and that has to be clear, I think, to academic. And the fact that this opens the door to opportunities for co-funding or funding PhD students and things like that. Where frankly, when we do that, it's actually investment. We don't make money. We make zero money. But I don't think that's, you know, again, many times say, oh, you come to maybe steal our product or whatever, and we need to change the way people think.
Well, I've been working in the United States for a while. I think it's not because there is a fundamental difference between the funding system in the United States and in Europe related to, for example, space science. Compare those two funding systems, they are fundamentally different. The reason why in the United States it's easy to collaborate between academia and industry is because, you know, proposals for mission, for example, they are like kind of bottom-up approach. So the scientists write the proposal and they need to go to companies because if they are not able to build the spacecraft themselves. And companies know that, so they approach a scientist and they offer their services to scientists because they know that at the end of the day, they both have to be on the proposal to make it successful. Here in Europe, the idea of ESA, you know, giving contracts to companies to build up some kind of spacecraft and then finding a scientific reason for that spacecraft, of course, doesn't work because then there's the link between the industry and the scientists is not there in the first place. So this is a fundamental problem we have in Europe, and we have to somehow overcome this problem. I don't know whether Europlanet can do something to, not from a finding point of view, but at least from a networking point of view, to overcome this divide between scientists and industry in the first place.
Isn't the mission concepts like medium missions in ESA comes from ideas from scientists? They say we want to put an infrared telescope. And then there is a competition, right? I think.
Yeah. There is a competition, but the scientists are mainly involved here in Europe. My impression is that the scientists are mainly involved in instruments. So the laboratories provide the instruments, but the spacecraft is always something beyond the scope, right? Whereas if you write a proposal for a mission in the United States, you need to know every single component of your spacecraft, particularly with small stuff. I've been on a CPS proposal, and basically, I was working next to the company that was thinking about the spacecraft, and we were interacting all the time. I'm not sure if this happens.
In Europe, I mean, I've been personally involved during my PhD in the preparation of a mission candidate for ESA. And we did all of the phase A studies and all these different activities where we worked together with the company. So we went around visiting manufacturers. It's only after the proposal goes through a certain stage of acceptance, at that point, ESA does get involved more. And then there is eventually a my experience has been that we want to go and see manufacturers, tons of meetings with them and so on. And at some point, ESA does get involved here. But in the early stages, it still is. You need to know company, you need to know industry if you want your mission to be successful. Right.
You see, question. They're always the same guys do the missions, or is it in Europe?
It's Airbus or Thales, and sometimes OHB. Probably at least.
Okay, but they have to have a number of subcontractors.
They will not be the immediate destination. It might be useful for the. Okay. Can you hear us better? Okay. We'll start with big ones, and then eventually we'll have to have the smaller ones. Well, but we don't start with the subsystems. Right? I think you worry about the
the European community can work a bit more to make sure that we are not behind what the United States are doing in terms of small cell. Because the small cell is definitely one of those framework where scientists and companies can work together next to each other.
I've got a person who has a lot more experience than any of us in this. You want to read the comments, please? Yeah. That what we say is nonsense.
I fully agree with what said, but I agree also with Luca that for the academia, they jump on the small sat business because This was the best way for them to collaborate directly with the industry, and the project, the timeline of the project is much shorter. And academia want to have receive data as soon as possible. In the big mission planned by the space agencies, but now Europe and push to introduce SME in the business. That's why ESA developed the Business Incubator Center everywhere in Europe. That was really to push the SME to be part of this space. If I take an example in Belgium, we have now a new aerospace lab, was jumping on the small satellite business, not CubeSat, but small satellite, and they had a great success. In Belgium. This business, I think, will probably increase the impact of SME. And I think it's important to have a big network of SME for the future. Many countries and even ESA do not push a lot. But with this new approach of academia, SME, and so on, they will have to adapt. They will have to adapt to the new. And that's the way that we have to find the Europlanet to see how we can position ourselves in that new landscape. But it's emerging. We have to be aware and find in all the future business plan of the European Association to have this approach also in order to be reaching or what we bring to the industrial landscape. But I agree, ESA was not pushing science. It's exploration now, it's in the HME division, HRE division, that it's no more in science. That's, it's not the right place for me to continue to make science exploration and so on. But it's decision of ESA, political decision. You have to know that they have to cope with the amount of budget that the country are giving in ESA, the return and so on. And sometimes, yes, it's difficult because the industry is already selected well before even the announcement is done, and we can avoid that with the SME and with consortium, first of all, like you said in the morning, we can have a strong impact by consortium of SME or different approach, and we can be concurrential. Concurrential is a big word, but we can play a role. And I think Europlanet, and through the hub, to the network of hub, if we arrive to really define how we will approach that, I think it's a good objective, target. Yeah.
So you were mentioning there also that you need to make us academics adapt to work with industry. I think, yeah, the kids have to make it in a natural way so they don't feel this push, like what we saw in the previous session, right? Some people think they are being pushed to work with industry, so they go, with already a negative mentality, right? So they can doing it because I'm forced. And again, I think that is to see how this is of benefit to everyone, right? Is how we can show, to me that's the biggest risk. Issue we face, right? Is how to convince academia that this is beneficial for everyone. In terms of the newspaper, I can tell a story. For instance, our company, we do it's all software, and the only big part of hardware we're doing is actually receiving antennas for
continue. And then they were very happy. We have the backup, right? And now they're working with us, right? So it's much more natural, right? But we basically have to maneuver, right? Okay, we found a way. This is just an example, right? But
then when you analyze the infrastructure network that we have, we do not have some operational facilities. For the moment, at that time, ESA created 10 users. The name was User Support and Operational Center, which was really the intermediate between ESA and academy and university. Now is the end of this program in 2030. All the centers are equipped, have very good personnel. I think we need in the Europlanet next project, maybe try to find some operational centers that can be reconverted to the Europlanet business, and then we can effectively propose something really generic: science support, industry interaction, and often they have a juridic personality now they set up, and then have also this operational support. And for small mission, we can offer a global support to university, because I think university really jump for the small CubeSat, but with the development of this new firm in Belgium, it's small sat, between small sat that CNES is doing and CubeSat. Then we need probably to increase our offer as a network of facilities. That's an idea that we have to think in order to have a global package to offer at one time.
yeah, we were talking at some point with Boris Segret, remember Marcel, but he was in charge of an incubator or something for CubeSats and things like that. He was mentioning that, of course, all the scientists like to basically to support scientists CubeSats, and of course, he said all that they can. They, of course, are thinking of the scientific idea. We're going to do that, this and that, but then we're not thinking about the green segment, right? For them, that's the afterthought, right? They have their ideas to do something scientific, right? It's normal, of course. But then, of course, they say, well, yeah, we need to think about the segment as well, right? Indeed, it is.
But when you have to make a scientific mission center, you create a direct collaboration between scientists and people who build the micro satellite, and that's then we avoid the fact that scientists are put not at the beginning of the project. I think that this framework is really the best way to have collaboration between all the company who can offer software, ground segment construction, but also operation, because it's different thing to do when you have to operate satellite.
I think we have to say how we can help, basically. So
yeah,
we want to do that, right? Because then they feel like
we can help if we create and define what we have to propose.
So I almost wonder whether there's an element where we should somehow lobby the value of industry towards the scientific community within Europlanet. I don't know how we can do that, but for instance, when we did the survey, to which the percentage of response was rather low, we got, I think, just under 50 responses out of what 1,500 people this was sent out to. Now we've sent quite a few reminders, so it's not like we didn't try, but we can keep doing this. However,
yeah, but I think the politic that the politic that I'm personally speaking, it's to support the hub. We need to effectively to use the network of the hub.
Well, okay, so is that brings to the point, which is that when we listen to the responses from the survey, quite a lot of people, there are a number of camps of types of responses. Some of them were people who were just very open-minded, would love to, but they don't know how. Fine. But then there are those people who raise some concerns about IP, concerns about trying to make a profit, the kind of things that you would expect people to say. And maybe I wonder if maybe through the hubs, we could organize a series of informative workshops.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. Yeah, we need no, but that's okay. We need survey. It's nice to continue to do it, but we need to use a network in order effectively to organize informative session. We did that in the space pool. We had an industry day with Belgian industry. It was a success.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, we promote Europlanet, that they were really interested. But we need to meet in person. We need to have webinar, seminar, but it's really organized in networking event like we did. We saw, it was the first time we did that. And we were really surprised with the success of the company went, and the networking was really efficient. And we had scientists, we had industry, and they were really a good networking between the two, speaking of future project and so on. But I think it has to be done at the regional level.
So maybe what the job of the industry team could be is to put together sort of a package with clear messages, a few examples, some practical things that can be used, and then use that with a roadshow across the various hubs and trying to bring that component.
Yeah, I think we have to have a common approach which can be adapted with the specificity of the hub. If we can define some specificity, I don't think so, but some people raise the problem for the thematics. And that's really, I think it's something that we had to put really in the business plan. But as a treasurer, we need to fund. The problem is always that, and I pass always the idea that during this year, with the brainstorming, with something, we have to rethink the scheme of funding for the committee, because it's not giving 1,000 euro for 1 year for the hub that they can organize something. We can support, but after the ERIM, we will have the association that we have to work on the membership. We have to try to find funding. We had an interesting discussion with the guy from the Astrobiology Institute, European Astrobiology Institute. I agree with him. We can go to search money in different programs that exist, even at the European Commission, in the different structure, ERC and so on. We can bring money to the Europlanet society. But we have to be proactive, and we have to give support. We have to probably to find a way to train people also to write proposals. That's a big job, but I think in the community of the Europlanet society, we have a lot of people who have experience for that. And we have to probably to have a good view of who can help some people who want to write a project, because some of them, I wrote so many proposals that I can take some time to support somebody to write a proposal for European Commission, even ESA or other source of funding.
While we were thinking, while we were talking, I was thinking, I think the question of hubs comes back, all the time. And every time we talk about the hubs, I realize that what is really missing is that the hubs do not talk to each other. Yeah. Now, let's suppose that I have an idea of a scientific mission. So I get in touch with Europlanet to my regional hub in France, and I ask them like, how do you know? Who do you know in France that can do this? And people say, well, you know, in France, we don't really have this expertise. I don't know. That's it. Whereas if somebody in the French hub, you know, was already having conversation, talking and knowing what was going on in the other hubs, might be able to say, hey, actually, wait a minute. I'm going to talk to the northern hubs because I heard maybe they have this expertise. So let me talk to them. So they, at the level of the hub, they contact the northern hub. The northern hub says, yes, of course, you know, we have this company that can do that. So we can put this company in touch with the French guy who has this idea, and then things happen, right? So I think this is essential, and it's part of Europlanet mission. It doesn't cost a lot of money because at the end, you know, the hubs will provide some kind of, you know, I would call it like almost consultancy in terms of, you know, putting people together and maybe giving some consultancy idea about, you know, okay, you might want to go into this direction, running in that direction. It's probably worth doing this rather than that. So these kind of things can be done at the European level. And another thing I was thinking is, let's say that, you know, some scientists have ideas and some companies can provide inputs. The problem is, how do we meet together to create a concept, even before applying to a call, right? Right now, there is no, I mean, there are very few systems where this can happen. One is, for example, you can apply for the ISSI workshop to be invited to Bern and, you know, sit down around the table for 1 week and discuss. But, you know, they have all sort of space science, not only planetary. Whereas here, maybe we can focus a bit more. We can, if we had a bit of funding, we could, you know, organize 1 week of workshop for industry and scientists to sit down around the table and, you know, and do the maths.
We're laughing because the industry is going to turn up, but not the scientists.
Fully agree. As I said in this morning, communication is the key of many things. And I recall that the operator of European Europlanet societies, ESF, they developed now a tool for communication, which will be more easy to contact every committees. Then I had the chance to see that. You must have some training because you have to learn how it's run. But this can help effectively to contact people from different hubs and so on. Then please have a look to these new tools that ESF developed. The people are here, then they can show you. And from what I saw in the last months, it will be really fix this problem of communication. After, probably there will be another step to have more thematic database of people. But for the moment, the tools is on the website, I think. Yes, they said that, and this will probably help you to contact the different hubs. But
coming back to this question of hubs, what I think is important is, you know, every single member of Europlanet should have like a point of contact in the hub, a reference person to which I write, and then he will dispatch my message. So, but this person cannot just work voluntarily for everyone, because it's going to be like too much of a job. So either there is a way to appoint someone who is going to be the reference point.
Normally you have which is the reference that I think
maybe a reference with mathematics.
Yeah, in mathematics. But we have to find share for all the hub. We are missing some of them. We have an action. But normally is the point of contact. But we realize that the information that it won't go down. And then that's why these tools were created in order to have a wider information. Okay, we send to the I think in the future we will send to all the member of the to all the member of the hub. You know, we can use these new tools as we want, and all the people, I think, from the hub will have the capability to do that. But okay, I'm not totally. I did not study totally this tool. So have ESF. After this meeting, I will try to test. But problem of communication, we have now some small solution to increase that, and this is a good for you because communication is.
We have the issue, wanted to organize industry hub meetings, right? And the problem we had is that we didn't know who were the other industrial officers in the hubs. And this is, but I think the problem is who is responsible for that, right? Because, okay, okay, it's the chair of each hub who should look for industry officers, Europlanet in general, but at the end we end up asking people who their names were on it, trying to see, okay, are you industry officer? Yes, no, and some people, you know, they put their names, but it's they never actually participate or anything, so it was outdated. So at the end now we have a much shorter list, obviously, but at least it's more secure. But yeah, indeed, you need to have, how do you say, update contact points, right? And if someone leaves or whatever, then it should be replaced or should be known, because otherwise we're a bit on the dark, right? And in any case, we organize a couple of, this industry hub, and frankly, it's always the same. We have the usual suspects, right? And there is people we just don't get. Period.
That's a problem of all committees. My personal view is, if you enter, then you have to give some time to do that. But we have to have a more detailed description of what we attend from the different officers, so that people at least know that they will have to do their job in the society in that domain. We do not have that for the moment, and we need to clarify the role of the different officers. We need to make a restructuration of the approach of management of Europlanet. That's normal, because now we have this new structure. Then we need to think how we can reorganize the network, how we can reorganize the board meeting also, because we have a lot of people turnover now. That we have a momentum to try to have a more detailed description of what the people have to do if they enter the board or the board in a hub. And with this description, if people say, no, I do not have time, we know that. And we are not effectively in the situation, or we have a name, and then you put his name, the person put his name for nothing, for nothing. Then this is part of the job that we are doing right now, and we are waiting all the new ID from this meeting, ERIM meeting, like the science dimension also to introduce in Europlanet, because it's not well. We do not speak a lot of science when we're meeting, even in the board and so on. And we need to rethink about that. And all the idea that we will collect during the ERIM meeting will feed this business plan and financial plan. But we want to have, as most as possible, many people participating to that. Not only about a top-down approach for the Canva, but after the refinement of the business. We need to have a wider audience to brainstorm.
On this point, can I ask you, what is the process? So let's say we finish this meeting, this week, and we will all go away with lots of ideas. Typically, in the past, what happens is that there's an EPSC, lots of good ideas, and then see you in 12 months. So the question is, how do we, what is the process from your perspective?
Yeah, but at the start of this meeting, we had a session where we had 10 thematics, and people went to the different boards. And normally, these people who were there, they discovered the thematic, and they had in charge to discuss and to brainstorm, and then to bring at the end of the week some bullets We do not ask for solution. We ask for to collect the ID and to have a list of ID. Then normally people that decide to be involved in these thematics have to network and to discuss with people, and then at the end we will collect everything.
So I'm talking after the meeting. So
No,
once,
before the
no, but once ERIM is over, once you have collected these ideas, then what is the process?
Then we will have the ID to write the roadmap for the future. Then we will not. We will have an ID probably where we go, but we will not have the final roadmaps for Europlanet for the next coming months. But we will have all the ID and. With this new tool of communication, then we can continue to probably to discuss.
So is there a process following the ERIM, following that the roadmap is being put together, or during the process of roadmap being put together?
That's something that I ask often. I think they were involved in the organization of this week of brainstorming, and then probably we will discuss soon how we will valorize all the.
Because I imagine that it would be useful for the community to be able to provide feedback and adjustments to the roadmap.
Yeah, we must effectively give feedback to all the committees and to the ID for the restructuration, or then for the hub. I think there are for me, personally speaking, too many activities in the hub. We need to clarify. Yeah. And to because we have to do this one.
I just wanted to say about the point about thematics. It was introduced at the point about the thematics yesterday at the introduction, when the 10 challenges were introduced and people were asked to choose a challenge. I had two other people with me, the industry and policy engagement. Luca was there, and then we had another person join us. So if there's only fewer people contributing to this, then there may not be enough ideas coming out of it. We need more people to participate in this challenge to get some useful ideas out of it.
Well, if I may, I am at the challenge group number 6, which is sustainable access to facilities and field structures, and we are only 3 people in the group, which is I don't think really good. I think it would be better if more people with more ideas would participate in these questions as well. The problem is these are the most difficult questions, obviously, and most people avoid these questions, even though they should be solved in the first place. So maybe displacement of these challenges in next time or in some other place would be to more benefit. I don't know. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, it's an equal distribution of people.
Yeah, I agree that sustainability is a big challenge to analyze, but okay, we don't expect 1,000 ideas. Then this will be probably at the end of this week. I don't remember the agenda, but I think we will. Okay, we have also ID. We prefer also to have a bottom-up approach, and then we can develop some ID that we brainstorm in the board before. But I'm not for this exercise. I'm not in favor of top-down approach. We have to have a bottom-up. Then we need to work with all the ID that will come from the community, and thematics is also effectively something that we have to discuss more. Yeah, yesterday we had the idea of thematic hub. You had the reaction of the friends up directly. No, I jump out then that's not a good approach. But we discussed this morning with this introduction of the scientific dimension. We have to discuss. We can, and if you remember the speech of the person from the Astrobiology Institute, we can have also an approach that's almost similar and try to have this thematic, scientific thematic, and maybe other industrial or policy thematics. That's something that we have to brainstorm, and so I will not give answer now. I'm waiting for the reaction.
I mean, maybe two thoughts I've got at the moment is that the first one is the operational support for these communications to happen. So, we we're full-time jobs. We're trying to do what we can. I've got the support of Yoga. Eline's also got a full-time job on the policy side, and so the support of Mariadina as well. But the point is that we can bring ideas, we can bring contacts, and we can help implement them in focused, short bursts of activity. But what we can't do is to have a continuous low-level response rate. That's not sustainable. And the same will apply to any industry. They will have short focus amounts where they get 100% of their attention and they work. So what has been a challenge for us with the lack of structure around the hubs at the moment, the lack of responsiveness, is that we send out 1, 2, 3 emails. And then if there's no response, well, we stop chasing because we've got other urgencies, other things to worry about. And very often, I think that a lot of problems come out on the fact that there's a lack of sustainable communication channels, support at an infrastructural level to help these communications be efficient, so that we come up with a great idea. We send it off to a contact point. Someone suggested a contact point. I can't remember who it was. It was you, Luca. You send it off to a contact point, and then that person makes sure that this gets captured in the system, gets disseminated. Everyone is aware of it. And then in that case, Europlanet, we can leverage the value of the network. We can leverage the capabilities of the network knowledge, etc. And it's straightforward. So that's one angle I would say on the structure.
But that is almost a job, what you're describing. I mean, it takes a lot of time.
It does.
Now, the question is, who is going to volunteer to do that?
It shouldn't be a volunteer. Someone should be paid.
Either you pay them, or if remuneration in money is not possible because the finances are low, then you have to somehow to compensate it, right? So I wonder, whether young people can be compensated somehow. So could be on a regional hub position, could it be prestigious? Could it be something that somebody at the PhD level would will to do because it will bring he or her
my only
something
comment
good
to make for industry is used to responsiveness and consistency. So if you have a contact point that has to go to a conference for 2 weeks and does not respond to the email for 2 weeks, that doesn't work. You need to have someone who responds quickly. Now, I think what I'm talking about here in terms of support is not a full-time job. It's a full-time job in the sense that you have to be available, but that person can do this for, I don't know how many different aspects of the community. It doesn't have to be just an industry person. It doesn't have to be an industry person.
But maybe that could be set up at the society level rather than the regional hub.
I agree. No, I agree.
Then the regional hub levels could be more younger,
etc.
Right.
I mean, you made a point when you picked up the microphone, which is interesting, which is I'm going to turn to the perhaps younger persons in the room, which is that the other element, especially when it comes to SMEs, new approaches, different thinking, and so on, and also no opposition to industry necessarily, is the early career people, because they have an open mind. I mean, I don't know, I'm speaking on behalf of them, but if you guys want to make a comment on this, given that there's such a large representation of early careers here today.
Well, thank you. I am not yet associated in any way with Europlanet, but to address the creativity of PhD students at regional hubs, perhaps there could be implemented some collaboration with Erasmus Plus or some of these institutions that completely compensate the internships of young people abroad. However, I think it has to be very well established to get the word to the young people and internships at the institutions, and it has to be the young people has to have some idea what it would mean for them, and what would be expected of them. So perhaps it would obviously be lucrative. There is, in my opinion, very many people who would like to work in some relation to space research, etc. But they either don't know the opportunities, or it didn't get to them, especially I can speak for Eastern Europe, where maybe on Comenius University there are some people who knew or who know this is happening, but I am from Slovak Technical University, and for example, I haven't heard about Europlanet until the mail of this meeting, never before. So I think the knowledge and should be more spread in between the individual institution. Then maybe the science groups would also like to participate. For example, at the Slovak Technical University, like 5 years ago, there was opened a new study program called Space Engineering, and there is nobody from the study program here. I don't know why. I think at least to know what's happening and how the European structure for space research is moving about would be fine for these people. But we as a PhD student have received one vague email about what this meeting is, and I got excited because such events don't happen here. But many other people just maybe skipped over this email and never knew some meeting like this was happening. So if young people at the regional hubs, maybe more reach to the young people, maybe that would be some advice. Thank you.
Yeah, so my background is actually in atomic and molecular physics, and I recently joined Comenius University of Bratislava, Slovakia. Before that, I was like in Italy, and there I was working in a European project, and I was basically actually responsible for the construction of laser systems. So we actually have some kind of experience working with the industries, like we wrote a project together, and we won it, and we were doing it. So actually, the collaborations that happened with the industry, it was more because we already bought laser systems from the companies. We knew them, we knew the people, we were giving them feedback, and then, okay, now our experience went well. So now we can actually write the project with them and we can move forward. So it was actually how the UV laser systems and optics works and all. And again, the other collaboration that happened with the industry was also because we also bought cavity from them. And again, we were giving them feedback, we are working with this, and we had collaborations and we work on it together. So this is how actually I'm not very much aware of the planet, like about this Europlanet meeting. I am a part of the organizing committee because I joined here and everything. But my background is actually now I'm gonna work with molecular spectroscopy and with for exoplanets. But I was just like knowing how the whole thing is working. But before that, like I'm always searching for these kind of opportunities. I was part of this Optical Society of America. And there, okay, that was more here, like for the Europlanet, I was not very much aware, like because in Italy, for example, I didn't hear anything. Even I was friends with like astrophysicists and all. So I think, yeah, we need more promotion of it too, like more marketing and yeah. Otherwise, like yeah, we're always happy to be, as you mentioned, that we early career science should be given opportunities. Like, okay, maybe for 2 weeks, someone would be in conference, may not be available for full time, but then if you're giving this as a job, maybe someone would be off for 1 month and may not be available too. So it's like it works that way too. So yeah. Thank you.
I see, sorry, I don't want to do a housekeeping, but I see that we only have 20 minutes. And I also see that this is an industry and policy breakout. Can we discuss policy for a bit?
Well, we got Mariadina connected online. I don't believe that Ellen is connected to this session.
Hello, Eleni, I think is also online. I agree with Marcel's point of view. We try most of the times to connect with hubs, but it's not really possible, or we don't get replies or much interaction. So I think that we need more interaction from the hubs and cooperation. So I agree with all the previous exchange of opinions.
Yeah, policy is really important because this is also a way to find funds. And that's why we locate the association in Brussels. And we will work with LNA and you, Mariadina, to increase the visibility of Europlanet at the level of European Commission, but also other agencies that have office in Brussels. And this is a big job that we have to do. You already organize a lot of things like a dinner debate with people from European Parliament, and we need to effectively to increase the proactivity toward the policy people in Brussels. But as always, if we want to organize something, we need money. Then money, it's always the big problem. In the framework of the association, we are working, the founder of the association, to have some support from Belgian government because we are located at the Space Pole in Brussels. We have 3 institutes, and okay, we already had informal contact with people that from BELSPO, from Belgian Space Policy Office, that are really interested to have this structure in Brussels. Then we try to have some money to have person, for example, to as point of contact to be more reactive. And the discussion are on the way, but I can't promise. But we need to effectively still find money to organize meetings or with policy makers. But okay, that's a matter of analysis of the finance that we will have in the future. As you know, we do not have EPSC this year. Then most of the funding of the society come from EPSC benefits. Then for this year, the 2023, there is no problem. But for 2024, we need absolutely to work to find money. I will explain that at the General Assembly. That's a challenge. That's the challenge of memberships. That's we must increase also the individual membership, even if it's not the big source. But we need to increase the size of the community with individual, but also with more like academia or other structure. But okay, what I saw the last 18 months that for the European Parliament, we had 3 activities, and we had the chance to present Europlanet in the European Parliament together with ESA, International Astronomical not Institute Association. Then we were visible. We have to continue that because they were really interested to learn about Europlanet. And we have to continue this activity and increase the synergy with the different European structure in Brussels.
Linked to that, I have a question. Can you elaborate more, or you or Mariadina, can you elaborate more on how Europlanet is seen from the perspective of, for example, the European Parliament? How do they see us? I mean, do they see us as just a bunch of scientists gathering together, or do they see us as an actor in policy, in industry, and in science?
I'm not the right person to answer that because it's maybe Nigel who can give the view, yes. But we, as I said, we work to be visible. Then they know us. We have some parliamentary people who know or are really proactive. We have Marianina, but we have also Eleni, who is really working. She's working at the ERC structure, but they know us. That's first step. And we had to do, when we were present, Anne-Karine and Anita present the objective. Then we had a dinner with all the director of the space agencies or different agencies in Europe. Then they know us and the description of what we can offer, what we are, a community and so on. They know that. But we have to go forward now to really make lobbying, to consolidate the fact that we represent a community. We are not thing like this, but we are a community of several hundred persons, because the critical mass of people, for them, for politicians, it's important. If you say, okay, we represent, I don't know, we can expect 500 or 600 people in the near future, but they listen to you differently. That they know us. We had 2-3 chances when in this jumping in the society to present, and I was there, and I had a lot of interaction with people, even with the association during this exposition. And then but we have to consolidate, and we have to work on that. That's why it's really important, this policy approach. And the job we have to do next year is starting the lobbying to really in parallel to be ready if we can jump in project.
Sorry, if I can add another question, what do we lobby for? I mean, what is the goal of Europlanet to lobby about?
That will be an outcome of this meeting. As I said, the association will really start in September at the end of the ERIM project. And we will have to build a different plan, a business plan, management, communication plan. And the outcome of this meeting and the future discussion in the coming months, we will define different topics where we can really make a maximum lobbying. But it's difficult now because there are lack of information at different levels, and we have to clarify. That's why we have to reanalyze the structure of the Europlanet society. But here I recall that European Association, which is the legal entity, do not replace European society. It's only a tool in order to increase the visibility, to enter projects, to manage projects in the near future, but society does not disappear. I want to be clear for that, because I had some question that people think that Europlanet disappeared. No, the Europlanet era is finished. And the Europlanet society, through the association, is partner in a proposal for the future. And normally it's transparent for you. It is only the fact that we have no more strength to enter project to bring money in the society and to have a better position to make a discussion with policy makers.
Just to add, I guess also allow it to make sure that they understand the importance of planetary science strategically in Europe, right? So that it's not forgotten to them. But also I think, like policy team, we have the contest where it was mostly Niklas Ninas and the member of parliament, and also Lilian Marinescu. But that's about it, I think, and it will be good to try, right? I would say to get a few more interested, because you never know how long they're going to last, right? So they could change, and then you lose them, and what do you do? Marina knows, and Eleni, of course, but the Friends of Europe also invite us to one of their sessions. We were also invited to the policy sessions, and they were very well connected. And I think that's also something we should, nurture also going forward, because they're very well connected for these things.
What we discussed also this morning, we have to find point of contact. We have to increase the database of point of contact at that level. We already have, as you said, Niklas.
We've been very lucky, I think. Lenny can say she's there, but with him, right? Because he's been interested on that.
But now we enter the next phase of sustainability. Then we have effectively to increase the number of point of contact for different thematics in different structure. Yeah, I agree.
Anything else anyone wants to bring up from online, maybe? Online people, anything? Any comment, questions? In the chat, I don't know. No. Wanna rush you?
I mean, I think I'm happy for anyone else to provide some further comments here. I mean, first of all, thank you everyone for participating in this. This is not an obvious session. I really appreciated the point that you made. Sorry, I don't remember your name, but I'll talk to you afterwards. I really appreciated the point that, I think you're absolutely right. All the difficult conversations are not the ones that will attract the most participation. They're not the most popular topics, but they are difficult conversations. And I think that this has to be sorted out at the top level because that's where we need to have a support. I see that Eleni is saying that she's apologizing. She's a meeting at the same time. Well, thanks, Eleni, for working in parallel with us. The point is, I think there was a lot of interesting conversations today. Lots of ideas. I appreciate we don't need to formulate solutions for everything at the moment, but I would be unavoidably thinking nonstop on this in the back of my mind the next few days. And it would be good to take the opportunity, perhaps maybe after the session tomorrow, after the industry session, which is happening, to do some further brainstorming on this, maybe come up with some initial ideas of what can be done. My key takeaways are perhaps two big ones, which I take away so far. One is that we as the industry team could perhaps help in doing a bit more promotion of the value towards the society itself, towards the scientific community. And maybe we need to take more steps to it, whether it is a tutorial, whether it is going to local workshops and work together with the hubs to make sure that we bring a clearer message about the benefits of working with industry internally, which was not the initial focus of what we started with. All of the work was to reach out to industry to see why they should work with Europlanet. Of course, what we've realized in the last few years is that we need to do it the other way around. So that's one thing. And then the other one is, I think, work together with the new structure of the society, although I'm a bit unclear as to, are we talking about the continuation of the 2024 RI, the new ASBL, or the new Space Science one, or all of the above?
This will be explained by Nigel at the general.
Okay, so we'll wait to hear from that.
Yeah.
But I think we really need to think about how we can lock in with a wider improvement in internal communication in the community, and how we can try to leverage that to also make it a bit more impactful and easier for everyone involved. Because otherwise, what happens is good ideas come up, life comes in, and we forget about them. And then 6 months later, we have another conversation, almost starting from scratch again. And I think that's very inefficient.
Yeah, we agree. And we already, with ESF, these new tools, and we are thinking to increase the capacity of communication between people. We are a community. We need to discuss together.
I just wanted to raise one thing, which is a cutting theme, let's say, between policy, industry, early career or mid-career in this case. I see there is one aspect which is missing in all these discussions, which can be called like soft money research or independent research, something that is emerging in Europe and is already well established in the United States. United States, it's common to have private research companies. I was working for one, and this private research company do not pay themselves researchers, affiliated researchers. The researchers are affiliated to these companies, and they apply for their own funding, right? It's called soft money because there's no institution paying you all the time. You look for your own money. In Europe, I don't think we, at least in parallel science, I don't think we have this structure in place. But we have a problem of, giving a position to everyone who is willing to stay in research in parallel science. We have plenty of examples, even people I know here at this meeting, who are postdoc almost for life, right? And this is not a good position to be, because you feel frustrated. So there is this alternative. I mean, there are positions for everyone. We know that, right? But so you can go to work for industry. We know that. But there are these alternative, frameworks, soft money, kind of soft money, where people can be their own. They can have their own projects and present themselves as, proper research scientists and not postdocs. How do we develop this framework in Europe? Because really is a question of policy from one side. How can we lobby for making this happening more easily? It's an issue of industry, because at the end, these kind of independent organizations are mostly private, and it's a question of also career, early mid-career. So I would like to raise this point and maybe create a discussion group or another breakout session before the end of the week. I don't know where and when it's better to do it.
So I was in the I don't know. I was in the US for 7 years. I'm not sure that's. I don't know. I saw a lot of people on soft money very stressed. Okay, so I am not sure that's something you want, right? Because especially in Europe, you're in soft money. You want to buy a house, you can because you're on soft money.
Yeah, but no, you're right.
Postdoc, right? So I don't know. That's my issue.
The problem is, are you more stressed by being on soft money or by not having a job not finding a position? I'm not sure. I was more stressed by not finding a position, to be honest. It's true. Soft money is stressful. It's not for everyone, right? Some people have to go to academia because they cannot find, have to go to academia. They cannot go to the industry. Cannot be on soft money. But for other people, it might actually be a way of being more free. Like, women who have 3 kids and they don't have a time for a full-time job at an academic institution. They can actually have a part-time job as their own research project.
So, maybe but in France, I mean, it's applicable to other countries, what they wanted to do, but it didn't work, because universities kind of opposed to it. It's to have contracts with companies, in fact, to say, because for instance, this happened a lot, like people will have, experts, university builds experts on data reduction, processing, James Webb, right? And they are, of course, on a postdoc, after 5 years, they have to go out. What they do, they stay 5 years, they pass them to their friends, university, they go back and see. Eventually, people leave and they lose their competence, right? And that's what they wanted to do is, to have actually positions so that you say, okay, the university has money for whatever, James Webb doing some data processing for this for 5 years. Okay, that money goes to the company who hires this person as a permanent position, who is working, in fact, for the university, okay? And then at the end, also, they can have a permanent job, so like there's a permanent job, and they can then do other jobs eventually, also it's for the company say, well, yeah, I like this profile, right? So yeah, let's do this, right? And even if the money ends, it's fine. We have projects, we have a company, we will be happy to have this person, or they might find more money, and then you can keep them because you don't need to move them, right? So it was a good idea, I think. This was opposed.
Who was opposed to the universities?
So
because they don't want to lose their own.
yeah, exactly.
But this is an issue of policy. This is an
I
issue.
think it's you kind of see, but I thought it was a good idea, but I don't know since Europlanet something like that. I don't know. I guess it's too early. But
I mean, the only comment I would make is that I think there should be clear that there's a diversity of career profiles. And when you go into academia, especially when you come to planetary research, it's a pretty monolithic career path that you expect to have. I mean, you've been taught that, well, you'll become a professor one day. That's it. Everything else is a failure. And I think that way of thinking is the one that needs to be shaken up, whether this is by dipping in and out of industry, setting up your own independent organization, whatever the process is. I think there should be a general mental flexibility in the community to accept diversity of careers. And I suppose that will happen. But,
yeah, I mean, in fact, I'm very glad that you're bringing this up because, when I heard a comment the first session, the previous session saying, we are scientists and okay, sure, we are scientists, but we can be something else. We are not monolithic, right? And we have diversity groups. Of course, we have early career. We don't deal with mid-careers, but mid-career in Europe is a big problem, is a big issue, probably even more than the United States. Because in the United States, you might have other ways to go. In Europe, it's right, particularly in certain countries like France, you are either academic, industry, there's nothing in between. There might be something in between. Might be something that can be created in between. And in other countries, it's the same, right? Italy has a huge problem of finding positions for people who have been postdoc for like 10 years, right? So Spain is the same. Some people will stay postdoc for life. I don't think this is acceptable. So we have to find maybe not a solution, but we can at least help understand that other possibilities are available. And
Well, normally it happens like this for a postdoc position. You should have like 5 years after a PhD, then you cannot have a postdoc position. And yeah, in Italy, like most of my friends, like they have to move again, like doing postdoc. It's like, okay, now that there are some universities, at least they are changing this policy. They are like, okay, you still have a postdoc position, you will be like a postdoc, but you're officially, in the papers, you will be like assistant professor. So it somehow helps, but still like there is a long way to go. Yeah.
And can I ask you, you mentioned that there was a lot of collaboration with industry in the context of your previous research area. Have you seen any mentality, flexibility on the sense of working with the university and then working closer with industry and potentially even going to industry and then potentially being even able to come back to academia or not?
This is a big question because I was in Brazil. I did my PhD from Brazil. And there I met a lot of professors who moved to industry, back to academia. And this is also, I was like, okay, I'm here so that I can even ask you guys. The point is that after you enter an industry, like if you're working in industry, and then if you want to come back to academia, if you don't have publications, you're lost again. You don't have. So, okay, as long as I know the people who are in industry, like moved from academia to industry, they're enjoying it. But if I think that, okay, if I go to industry and if I don't see my future in academia.
Because you feel that institutions do not valorize the skills you've developed.
Because industry, this is what I don't know if I should say this, but industry, they prefer skills. They don't care about anything else. In academia, normally it happens that most of the time it's publications. If you don't have publications, if there's a break, this is a problem. In industry, if you're having an interview, they like you, like, okay, you have skills that they need. That's the point. So this is what I like about industry than academia. So yeah, I think in this sense, I would prefer.
I mean, maybe it's a bit cheeky and we would need to think about this a bit more, but there could be a recommendation that comes out of these discussions that somehow, if Europlanet could find a way of formulating a narrative that would suggest that institutions think maybe a bit differently, or perhaps at a policy level, that
I think it will be
perhaps at a policy level that institutions, when they do a recruitment process, that they keep an open mind towards recognizing the value of a gap in academia, not as a negative, but as a potential positive. Maybe not for all roles, maybe not for all applications, but I mean, especially if you're talking about someone working on instrumentation, why on earth is it not valuable that you work in industry when you go back to academia? Because the qualifications don't matter. What matters is that you develop skills, capabilities, processes that you can then bring back to the institution and improve the capabilities of the institution.
This is what I've seen. I have some examples. The people, like, they have excellent technical skills. I'll talk in terms of optics. They have excellent technical skills, but of course, every field has different. You can have 5 publications in one field, but you can have 1 publication in 3 years. But it would be like, okay, you have developed a full system, and then you publish one thing. But if you go in academia, they will see, okay, you have 1 publication, and this person has 5 publications, this much citations. Okay, this is the good person. I mean, just see the skills, just talk to the person. So this, yeah, so I've seen the examples, like, even, yeah, so this is a problem.
But I think the value here we have that we can bring to the conversation is that we are being pushed by top down that we need to work with industry. I mean, I think all of us in the room are happy to work with industry in one way or another. So I think we are converted people. But fundamentally, the push that Nigel gave us, the push that comes from the European Commission, okay, they want us to work with industry. Fine. We'll try to help to build up the collaboration. But we need to also feed back to the Commission, to whatever framework there is at a higher level, that, okay, guys, we try to do this, but the biggest problem that we have is that the mobility and the permeability between these 2 ecosystems is horrible, and something needs to be done about this.
Space is a federal matter. Academia is a regional one. It depends also on the organization of the project. In Europe, I agree, but this is a policy. Not only in Europe.
It's also cultural, very much cultural.
But the advantage we have with Europe is that all we need is one country to do something innovative.
Yeah.
And then we can point towards that country. Say, shame on all of you. Look at what this country is doing.
Yeah.
So I think all we need is to crack it with one country.
But okay, it's a hard job to do, huh? But I think, I fully agree with you with this gap. Huh? We need to, maybe we can bring the discussion, but I think it's nationalism also at the national level, using the hub maybe.
But to a certain extent, this is probably the most powerful we have, because I think if we can address this one somehow, the other questions that we have will be resolved automatically.
Yeah.
This is the fundamental one, really, which is the roadblock.
Yeah.
Because we don't need to convince scientists to work with industry. If it happens de facto, then you don't need to go and talk to people.
Okay, but something.
So look, I mean, I know that the outcome of the current RI, the 2024 RI, I think by next March we have to write a report that will be submitted as to what recommendations, what are the learnings from this. I am very, very happy to write a report that comes up with stuff that we've done well, stuff that we failed at, our fault as an organization, and then a number of problems that we've identified in the ecosystem that, we've been given tasks, we've analyzed it, we thought about it, we've done a whole analysis of all the different impacts and implications and things that are not working. And there are some things that need to change at a much higher level than at a research infrastructure level. And the European Commission cannot expect some outcomes without helping us deliver some changes that are needed to the system.
That's a
result.
Great output.
I think that's a clear output, and then I think we need to work closer with the policy people on this and help them maybe formulate this as well, with some practical case studies and so on. Are we hungry?
Should we complete it?
Okay, thank you.
The policy team, the people online. Thank you to the people online, also the policy team. So, everyone for attending.
Thanks for the support.